What's going on YouTube? Ryan and Alex back again from Dopamon, and today you can see him down below me on the screen right now. We're going to talk about the best goalie in this draft, the guy who's the biggest question mark going into the first round, Yaroslav Askarov. So we just want to talk real quick about him. We both did our mock drafts recently on our channel, and just a quick thank you while we're there for the support on that video so far. It's been amazing to see your comments and see your support on that. So thank you. And yeah, we wanted to talk about this guy. We both
Say
have
thank
him.
you.
Pardon?
Yeah, to say thank you, we wanted to come back before the actual draft because we will be doing a live stream right at 7 p.m. when it starts. But before that, we wanted to come back and say thank you and talk about Askarov.
Yes. We both have him being picked right now in our mock drafts at 11 on Nashville. One of the only things we agreed on in like the top 15. But we want to talk today specifically about him potentially going higher than that into the top 10 or potentially even the top 5. So just real quick, we're going to talk about Askarov, why he's so touted in this draft, so highly touted. Hockey sense, ability to think, read the play is at another level to any other goalie in this draft. He's technically very good. From a range, he stands very upright and he's very calm and poised. And then when the play develops and things start coming toward him, he kind of drops into that Andre Vasilevsky really wide stance. And that's where that comparison is obviously coming from. He's Russian as well, and was the last big Russian goaltender that was picked in the draft. Um, Speaking of which, he's big. He's big for his age. He's 6'4", listed on. I'll scroll down. He's listed as 6'4" on Elite Prospects. Actually,
And
I
that is
checked.
an update.
It's actually updated. Last week he was listed at 6'3". So I don't know if he grew an inch or what, but he's 6'4". He's relatively big for his age at 18 years old. At his best, he's a poised, uh, incredibly poised goaltender, similar how Carey Price plays, and that's why he's drawing those comparisons there. Um,
Yeah, at the best, he's gonna be the best goalie for the next decade at least.
yeah,
He's gonna be that number one, playing for Team Russia, showing up.
yeah.
You know,
At
yeah.
Ascarov's worst, when he's off his game, he gets a little swimmy in the net. He starts opening up, holes start forming on him, and he tends to overcommit sometimes when he's off his game. The video that I've seen on him and back in the World Juniors, he obviously didn't have a great couple games. He got a little bit exposed that way, and I think that's probably part of the reason why he's dropped outside of the top 10 for a lot of people. But he's still the best goalie in this draft, so we need to talk about him and stuff like that. Like he's still relatively inexperienced. He's playing with men in the KHL and the VHL. So with him more experience, he's going to get that ability to be able to reel himself in when he realizes that he's overcommitting. He's getting a little too crazy in the net to come back center and repoise himself and you know start playing
Yeah,
better.
he plays with a level of cockiness that
Mm.
you kind of need, but you have to be cocky but not overconfident, and that's a a very thin line, and he's gonna figure it out, and when he does, he's gonna be one of the best goalies of our generation.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see. He's obviously the number one undisputed goalie in this draft. The
Hmm.
only major knock on him is that he's a goalie.
Yeah,
And that's the only reason why
there's
he's being
superstition.
pushed out of the top 10. So we're gonna go uh, through the rest of the top 10 and discuss the merits of each of the teams in there potentially taking him there. We had him at 11, but obviously we could be wrong. People are taking him at 5 and 3 and 7 all over the place depending on team needs. So we're going to talk about that individually in a second. Something we didn't talk about in the mock draft and I think is kind of important, because the draft is so late in the year, we're getting or teams are getting glimpses of players a little further ahead in their development than they normally would. So Askarov has played a few games in the
And he's looked amazing in them.
in the KHL. I'll flip through his stats page
In the
right now,
VHL.
and the
In
VHL.
the yeah, that's I think that's where he's playing right now.
Yeah, but he's playing the VHL right now. But he got 3 games in the K, and he put up a 974 save percentage in 3 games. Now it's only 3 games, but he had played one game, put up a 920. That's nothing. That's not nothing. You got to definitely think about that. And because we wouldn't normally be able to see that, people are starting to talk about it again. And that's the same for anyone playing in Europe right now. I know there are a couple guys that I think the Q is currently playing. There's a couple players whose stock might move up and down that no one normally would because the draft is in October and not June. So that's really interesting. We didn't talk about that before.
Especially with the European leagues, we get all the other European leagues like Holtz is playing. You get to see Raymond playing, Lindell playing. Who else is playing?
Yeah, other top
Amirov,
prospects that
Gunler. They're playing, but none of the people who are none of the NCAA players, none of the WHL players. They still haven't. They're still waiting for a season.
Yeah, so that's definitely not nothing. I just want to touch on that for a quick second. Anyway, so the current rumor right now is, according to Elliot Friedman at 31 Thoughts, someone is going to take Yaroslav Askarov at either 5 with Ottawa or potentially 7 at New Jersey. And we just want to talk about the merits of that. So we're going to go through the top 10 real quick to discuss what we think could happen. And would he realistically go to this team? If he does, what are the consequences of that? So we'll start with New Jersey at 1. Or sorry,
Rangers,
New Jersey.
New York.
Rangers.
New York.
New Jersey's had so many number 1 overall pick. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
New York Rangers at 1. I think it's pretty clear that they're not going to take him at 1. We can just get past this. They're taking Laffy.
That's like a 1% chance.
Yeah, honestly, I'd put it at 0. There's absolutely
0. All right, flat 0.
I think LA and Ottawa at 2 and 3 are also pretty. Like, they're not going to take them. Not that high. Chance. Not with a goalie. The first pick that it could happen is 4 in Detroit, in my opinion. But to me, Detroit is so far away from contending, and they need forwards and skaters to build up their talent again. I don't think they would risk taking a goaltender at 4 here when they so desperately need to bring their prospect pool back up.
I couldn't agree more. I think that last season when they showed taking Moritz Seider, that they will take a guy that they want, but I don't see how Askarov fits right now. He's a goalie that could play as soon as next season, and I don't think they want that. As much
I don't know
as
if he could play as soon as next season, but like he's not as far away as people think. Like I've heard some people say, "Oh, he's 5 years away." I don't think he's 5 years away. He's a couple years away from jumping over. It depends on contract status in the KHL and all that stuff too. So we won't get into that. But I don't think Detroit is a contender here. Ottawa at 5 might be, because that's where people are talking now. They might be taking it 5 because Ottawa already has 3. You're the Ottawa fan, Alex. Let me know what you think on this.
This was a comment on our last video. Chance for taking 5. I do see it as a possibility, but Ottawa does have going forward for next season. They want Anders Nilsson to be the starter and Hogberg to be the backup. He played a few games last season and he looked pretty good for a backup. And then in the system we have Philip Gustafsson from Pittsburgh. He's a good-looking goalie, and also Matt Sogard in the system. I think Ottawa's looking at their goaltending, saying, this is pretty solid. We can get Askarov and maybe move one of these guys out, the other guys. But instead, let's get a skater. And for that reason, I see I see them taking Jamie Drysdale still.
Yeah, I had them with Drysdale as well, but there's definitely an argument to be made for Askarov at 5, and I'm going to be really interested to see.
I see why, but I think it's a little bit lower than people think.
All right, next at 6 would be Anaheim, and I think Anaheim has John Gibson, and that they have him locked down to, like, I think a 7 more years after this one. He's still 27 years old. I don't think John Gibson is going anywhere in Anaheim, and I don't think they would risk taking a goalie at 6, considering how deep this draft is on the forward position.
and how deep a hole Anaheim's got themselves in. Oh man,
Yeah.
they have bigger problems right now than goaltending. That might be the only thing that they do have going for them. Why they'd be seeing kind of a waste of a pick when you can fill a different spot with a guy like who I think Holtz, or a lot of people see. I think you said Rossi.
I said Raymond at 6.
Right, maybe that's 6.
Yeah, but yeah, I think if Rossi or Raymond or even Perfetti, Holtz, like you said, is available
Yeah,
here at 6, I don't think they take the flyer on Askarov.
no,
I really
neither
don't.
do I. They have bigger concerns, bigger things to deal with, and Askarov doesn't fill it.
No. Now, this is probably the most likely one I think didn't happen in my opinion is New Jersey Devils. The New Jersey Devils have a few picks in this draft. Now, people are telling me that they want Mackenzie Blackwood. Mackenzie Blackwood is their guy.
I like Mackenzie Blackwood
I do. I do like Mackenzie
as
Blackwood.
maybe a 1B.
Yeah, maybe. I liked him. I'll throw his stats up on his screen right now. That's still Askarov. Mackenzie Blackwood last year had a really good year. He played 47 games. He had a 915 save percentage in New Jersey last year, who had a terrible time keeping the puck out of their zone, keeping the puck out of their net. So having Mackenzie Blackwood here he's 23 still, so he's still really young. He's still a prospect in my opinion.
Oh, for sure. Most goalies don't really reach their prime until their late 20s. I believe, from what I've seen, you've got goalies like Robin Leonard,
Mhm.
who's finally coming into his prime around that age. Is a good example.
Yeah, so
Even Hudobin, who's really old, having like the best games of his life.
it really, really depends on what they think of Blackwood. Are they confident in Blackwood going forward? If they are, and I think he's an RFA, they have to re-sign him. So we'll really see if he's re-signed before the draft. Um, we'll really be able to tell their positioning on him. Because if they sign him for long term, decent money, they're in on Blackwood. But if they sign him to this weird bridge deal, I think there's a chance that they could take a flyer on a guy like Askarov, considering they have also 18 and 20
Mhm.
later in the round.
Yeah, I agree. That's definitely a concern for them.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, you know what? Having Blackwood and Askarov, that's not too bad going forward for New Jersey.
No, that wouldn't be all bad either. You're seeing we're starting to see a shift to the kind of more of a two goalie system in some places,
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
wouldn't also put it past them there. Also, side note, it would be really cool because I realized this when I was looking through each of the teams' rosters and stuff. The New York area, if Askarov was taken by New Jersey, would have potentially three elite Russian goaltenders in that area, with
Hmm.
Shesterkin or Georgia in New York Rangers, Sorokin for the Islanders, and Askarov for the Devils. So
Yeah, you're right.
it'd be really cool just from like in 5 years, this weird Russian goaltending rivalry that they have there. I think could be kind of
Yeah, in the Northeast there. Interesting.
something I noticed.
Hmm.
Anyway, moving on to Buffalo. Buffalo is at 8. Buffalo has a prospect named, and I'm going to butcher this, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, who they are really, really high on. They also have Linus Ullmark still. Buffalo, I don't think is a contender to take Askarov. I think they go with a player as well.
I think a lot like Anaheim, they have more needs up front than in net. And I also see Buffalo having a little bit too much faith in their current goaltending.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I have anything against Hutton and Allmark, but I don't see either as a starting goaltender. And they're like, yeah, well, they consider themselves like a contending team.
I don't consider Hutton to be a starting goaltender, like a 1A, or
Hmm.
sorry, a number 1, maybe a 1A, but
No, I don't consider either, but I think Buffalo thinks they both are.
mm-hmm.
And for that reason, I think that they won't take Askarov because they're like, no, we have our starter.
Mm-hmm. And again, the deepness of the forwards in this draft. Are you
Hmm.
gonna pass up a guy like if Rossi slips there? I don't
Rossi
know.
or
I don't think
Perfetti.
he will.
Yeah.
If Perfetti slips there, if Raymond slips there, if Holtz is still on the table, are you gonna
Hmm.
pass on one of these potentially premier elite forwards that they have in the top 10 of this draft for a risk in a goaltender in the first round?
Hmm.
I don't see Buffalo doing it.
Neither do I.
Who I do see doing it is our next team in Minnesota.
Mm.
Minnesota, I mentioned this in the mock draft. Minnesota is a stingy, boring hockey team. Every time I watch the Minnesota Wild, I fall asleep. But my point is, they're a defensive team. If they think that if they're moving on from Devin Dubnyk, like I've heard a lot of rumors about,
I think they are. I've never been a fan of Devin Dubnyk. I think they should.
I think they should as well. We'll switch over to the Minnesota cap friendly real quick
Mhm.
here. We have Devin Dubnyk and Alex Stalock. Devin Dubnyk is 34 years old and on an expiring deal. I don't think they have any big, none of these goaltenders in their minors on cap friendly at least, you know, scream elite to me. Hunter Jones is an
Oh,
okay goaltender. He's he's a good goalie for the Peterborough Petes, but Capo Kakinen is here. I think he's kind of destined for the minors. But it depends on what Minnesota wants to do. If they want to secure a goalie of the future, I think the most likely team to take them outside of maybe New Jersey is the Minnesota Wild here. I don't. Yeah, depends on if they move Dubnik and how close they are to how close they are to contending again.
yeah, and I agree. I like Alex Stalock as a backup goalie in Minnesota too. So, he could take a lot of 1B kind of role for Askarov. I could see him playing a lot more games for a team that maybe going forward could see themselves in kind of a rebuild even.
Yeah, that's the other thing. When did they think they need to rebuild soon?
Hmm.
Based on, guys they're losing, are they gonna be contending this year? They obviously aren't re-signing Koivu. They traded Stahl. How much of a impact is Marcus Johansson gonna play? Uh, they're guys that are going to be RFAs in a year. They still have the Albatross, Parise, and Suter contracts. Are they going to have to
Hmm.
start tearing this team down? So we'll see what they think on draft day.
Like, I think they're trying to get younger. With that trade, the Stahl trade, it shows that they want like to bring. They don't want to lose the character, but they want to get a little bit younger because they want to see something retooling, rebuilding here. I see rough seas ahead for the Minnesota Wild and Askarov. If he does take a few years to become a starting goalie, could be that starting goalie.
Could be. So I think if any team takes them, beside where we have them at 11, I think it's the Minnesota Wild.
Mm-hmm.
For me, anyway, in our opinion, or in my opinion. Winnipeg is the last team in the top 10. I don't think they're taking him at Winnipeg. I think we can skip over that as well. Hellebuyck just won the Vesna,
Yeah, that's
and they're struggling down the middle and on defense. I don't think they take
yeah. I think it'd be kind of rude to pick a goalie when
Askarov.
like Hellbuck just won the Vesna, and it's like you pick the best goalie. It's like I don't
Yeah, there's no
kind
faith
of
there.
replace me. Yeah, that's they kind of like they need to and they need centers going forward. I completely agree. That's the position they should be focusing on.
Yeah, and that leaves us where we originally picked them. I personally am going to stay at my prediction of 11 in Nashville. I think if he gets to Nashville, they're not passing on him. There's the outside chance that Jersey or Ottawa or Minnesota could take him, but personally, I'm going to stick with my original pick at 11.
I completely agree. New Jersey at Nashville at 11. I did the same thing.
Yeah.
Like New Jersey has so many picks. I completely agree with Nashville Predators taking in that 11th. I can't see them dropping any further. They're a team that has a need on goaltending going forward, and I can't see any of the teams above them picking them. But I
Well,
really hope I'm wrong.
we'll ultimately
Because
see on draft day,
yeah,
and hopefully we will see you on draft day for our
mhm.
live stream, and check it out on this channel
That's
on Dopamine.
7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific.
Yes, we're gonna just be streaming us. We're not gonna be streaming the actual entry draft, but now come discuss what happens with us. If anything crazy, there might be some trades happening obviously on draft day. Hopefully it'll be a really exciting time.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, that's it for us for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let us know down in the comments where you think Yaroslav Askarov will be taken. And until next time, we won't always have Pokemon on this channel.
But we will always be dope. Thank you so much for watching.